In this video, I'm going to be showing you Cubasis, which is my absolute favorite DAW of all time. Never talked about it on this channel before, so let's delve right in. Hey everybody, this is Barry. So today I am talking about Cubasis. This is on my iPad. Before you switch off, the iPad is an amazing tablet in which you can take your digital audio workstation with you anywhere. I have produced music on this thing for so many years, for so long. I've produced in airports, planes, business lounges, shopping malls, like everywhere, traveling in the car, not driving at the same time, but you know what I mean. So I wanted to really cover this DAW in this video. So we're currently on Cubasis 3. Now, you might be familiar with Cubase, and that is the full PC or Mac version. There's a lot more functionality with Cubase on the PC or Mac, but to be perfectly honest, we're now at version 3.5.1. They keep bringing new releases out, so apologies if this might be a little outdated, but this is the current version as of recording this video. Now, before we actually delve straight into the app, I wanted to show you the website. So it's produced by Steinberg. You can visit their website at steinberg.net. You can create your music on your iPhone if you want to, on your Android phone if you want to, on your iPad if you want to. It's very versatile. What you might find is you have to purchase it for each device. That's certainly what I've had to do with my iPhone and my iPad, but you're able to download a trial version which is free, which is incredibly useful. You can get it on the Google Play Store, on the App Store. The website basically tells you what the difference is in terms of updates and what the changes are, but it's good to see what the functionality is if you wanted to delve into, say, your Chrome OS device or your iOS device. So all of that information is on here. I'm not going to get into that now. They go into all of the different updates in terms of what's new. You're able to use it on a Chromebook if you want to, and it's the best system ever. What I find personally, the way that I work with music is kind of by limitation. I really was into music trackers as a kid and growing up. And it was basically, I had on the Amiga, for example, I had 2 tracks on the left and 2 tracks on the right. If I wanted to stereo sample, I had to use 2 channels. I only had 4 mono channels to work from. Gone are those days. But what I found is I could produce brilliant music if it was a DAW that was really easy to use. And that's exactly what Cubase is all about. Just to let you know, they do have sales on quite often where you can get things like 40% off, etc. So it's worth checking that out on the appropriate app store or even on their website to find out if it is available. So just to let you know, you can do MIDI on here, you can do audio with samples if you want to, you can cut those, you can manipulate files. This is like the main screen here, which I'll go into in a moment. You can see you've got the mixing desk at the bottom, which is just great to see. You can do various things on the app. You can jam, sequence, record, share, mix, and edit. So it's just some great features there. There's also a load of plugins, a load of drum machines, FX packs, loads of interfaces that you can use for like MIDI support, for like external keyboards. And personally, I found it more than enough for myself. So for those that are new here, my name's Barry. I'm known as Cyber Monday for synth pop music and Cyber Friday for my EDM stuff. And this channel's all about helping musicians. It's about strategy. It's about music NFTs in Web3 on the blockchain. It talks about AI on this channel, about the music AI that's going on, all of the news that's associated with it. So if you're interested in that kind of content and I can provide value for you, then please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Now, via the name of Cyber Monday, just on my Bandcamp page, just to show how much music I have actually done on this thing, I started producing via Cubasis when I started the Synthwave Daywave album. That was about 5 years ago now, and it's been continuing since then. I may have even have picked up the DAW earlier than that, but that's as far as I can remember. But I absolutely love this software. Okay, so we're going to start in the iPad now, and I'm going to talk you through the application. So this is Cubasis 3 here, so I'm going to click on that. You can see actually I've got an awful lot of different apps that I use. I have used GarageBand in the past and a few others. If you click on my DAW, I have used Figure, I have used FL Studio Mobile, and GarageBand. But I'm going to be perfectly honest, for my purpose, I found Cubasis to be the easiest, the best one for producing results from my point of view. So you present it straight away with kind of what you want to do with the project. So you can create a brand new project, you can open the recent one, or you can browse your projects. And there's a load of help videos at the bottom if you want to do that. So if I click on a new one, you'll just have to give it a new name. I can click create, and straight away you're presented with a MIDI track at the top. You can tell it's MIDI via that little piano button there. And you've also got a sample track that you can use, which is here. Now, the way that it's laid out is relatively straightforward. You can click on your media on the very top left, and then you're presented with all of the projects that you have created so far to date. You're able to move this slider up and down to your leisure, which really can help. Here are zip files if you want to save them in your iCloud, for example. You can duplicate files, you can import ones if you want to. Maybe from the files you can do that. You can create another brand new project, you can rename a project, and you can create folders. And folders are actually really helpful, particularly if you've produced a lot of different projects. If you click on another project different to the one that you're on, you can actually select move, you can delete it as well. And you always know that you're in the projects file because of the projects folder here on the left. Now, if I click on audio, this will load all of the sample files. So I've got a ton of sample files that I've taken from various sources, such as Splice, as an example. And it's just a case of finding them in the file structure that you're typically used to. You can see I've got mine split by instruments, so I'm going to click on piano. I'm just going to click on one here and then click on autoplay. Okay. If you want to include, say, the first one, you literally just drag it up, a bit different on my mouse, apologies, and you can see roughly where it's going to land. There you go. That's like a different format, so it's just going to convert it for me. Can you see that that's really large now? However, you can zoom out just by dragging that bar, which I find so easy to use. Okay. Now let's have a look at MIDI now. So if I click on MIDI, I can have a look at my drum loops, and I can click on one, and again, just like a normal sample, I can autoplay it. So that's an example of that one. So I can double click it to actually load it as a MIDI file. Now what you'll find is that straight away you can start to edit things as much as you like. So if I double click on that sample for the piano, you'll then see that you're able to cut and splice as much as you want to here. You might want to fade it in which case it will do that automatically for you. There's always an undo button, so don't panic, but this DAW does auto save, so just be conscious of that. If you want to change the grid view, you can snap it to the grid, it'll do that for you as well. You might want to reverse it, you might want to get rid of it, or you might want to cut it, which you can do as well. Always be conscious of the grid views that you're looking at, so I can change those as I need to. Now, let me change the beats per minute to 100. Now you're able to drag that down if you want to. You can tap the tempo if you wish, if that's easier for you to actually use. And you can see the signature was 4/4 there as well. Now this is your from and to bar, okay? So if you want things to repeat, you can set it to do that. At the top, you got various back to the beginning, to the end, repeat, play, record, and the metronome. So I'm going to click on the metronome. I'm going to rewind it and click on play. I'm going to do that to repeat. So you can hear the metronome very lightly. It's just so easy to manipulate things on here and to create them, which I just absolutely love. You've got effects at the very bottom, so you can change the velocity if you want to. Again, remember what I said, you can move that bar up to actually resize it. You can move notes around. It can get a little fiddly, I'll be completely honest. You might want to try an Apple Pencil, but you always get a preview of what you're doing, which can really help. So that's just a general gist of functionality there. You'll see the counting bars here. You've got pads, which is really helpful if you want to kind of repeat a beat, or record a beat rather. So you're able to do that. And you can easily duplicate things as well. So yeah, I could copy that one, which is up here. And then I can literally change the grid to a bit simpler for me so that I know I'm going to land exactly on the 3. And then I can paste that in, and that's just repeated that rhythm for me. This bar at the top is the volume. You can fade it in as well, and you can fade it out. Right, so let's zoom in a little bit now, because let's say I want to actually manipulate the piano track a little bit more, okay? It's not going to exactly where I want to. Let's actually split this file up, okay? And by splitting the file up, I can actually manipulate the part that I want to then. So I'm going to do that a couple of times by clicking on split. You can erase, you can draw, you can mute certain parts. When they're muted, they turn grey, just to let you know. Probably the most interesting feature that I actually use, because I use a lot of samples, is actually the transpose functionality. So I can go by cent, semitone or octaves and actually apply it. Okay. Right, then when I play this back, can you see already the impact that's having? In fact, now can you see I can't click in the middle of that? Why is that? That is because of the grid. So I need to make sure that that grid is larger so that I can actually manipulate it again. And I'm going to transpose that bit again to 2 semitones there. Let's just play that back, see how that sounds now. Okay, my bad. What I didn't do is I didn't click on split. So that's what I need to do. So I need to change this one back to 0 and keep that other one as 2. Now let's try that one again. Rewind. Yeah, I like that. And it's just, I just love this. Honestly, it's just so easy to use. It's one of the best things about it. Now, obviously, if you want to change the, maybe you want to do like an extra instrument, you can do that via just adding a track. You can click on add. You say whether you want it to be a MIDI track or an audio track. You might want to delete a track. You can duplicate a track as well. So let's zoom out now. And let's have a look at media again. So we're set up on track 1 to be an acoustic piano. Okay, so now what I can do, I want to add an instrument to track 1, which I haven't used yet, and it's a MIDI track. And can you see I clicked on pads and it presents you with chords. But let's say that I actually want to play something. I can change that to keys and turn off chords if I don't want to show the chords on here. And what I'm able to do, I can then play on the screen. So easy. You can connect this up to a MIDI keyboard if you want to. I've actually got a Bluetooth keyboard, which is really cool because you don't have to wire it in. But what I do want to do is I want to change the instrument first. So again, if you remember, I can click on the piano and then you can navigate through the different sounds. Not too bad, maybe an organ. So I've just selected organ from here. Okay, that'll do. You can change various settings, which again, I like to keep it simple. So we'll just play it now and see how we get on with dabbing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to arm the track by clicking the record button and going for it. Okay, now I'd like to say I purposely made mistakes in that to train you, but you know, maybe not. So what I did then is I just double clicked straight away on the instrument that I've been working on so that I can actually change them. Now you're able to snap them to grid if you want to by, you can select them. If the select bar is selected, you can actually zoom out on the bottom left and you can select them all if you want to. You can zoom in and you can zoom out as much as you can with your fingers by pinching and releasing. That can really help just get everything ready on the screen for you. But I can select all of those and then that presents various options. So I can then quantize it, snapping it to grid. So that can work quite well. And then what I can do, I can actually expand out a bit more. And by unselecting, I can then manipulate each sound. Now what I can also do, I can add effects. So if I go to insert effects, you can choose many different effects from here. So you've got an FX pack, you've got FX pack 2. The most popular ones that I like to use on internal effects is actually reverb and delay. So let's give that a shot. I generally turn the brightness down and then it in the mix. Now you notice that I've been muting various tracks, but what you can do is you can just select solo on one and it'll just play that one for you. As you can see, you're able to add more effects in there as well. If you want to write a particular note to remind yourself about something, you can do that in Notepad here, and that then relates to the track, which is really cool. You can also change the color of the various ones if that helps you to remember. Something that they haven't done yet is like the time marks of like marking verses and choruses. I really would like to see that. Once you want to actually enlarge your project, what you can do is you can minimize, you can select by clicking on the select button, and then it's a bit difficult to do on the mouse, to be perfectly honest, but I can draw a square like that. And then I can literally copy it, go to the place where I want it and paste. And then that's just doubled. Okay, this happens a lot. This is probably my biggest bugbear. Can you see that I had number 3 selected when I click copy? That means it started from number 3, but I want it to start from number 1. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to make sure 1 is selected. I'm going to click copy. Then I'm going to click off and make sure that 1 is still selected. And then paste, and then what that does, it remembers where you are. So that does happen from time to time. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. So we've now doubled the project, but it'll only repeat halfway, so I need to move the repeat bar across. Let's see if we can do a little bit of mixing now. So let's start that from the beginning and click on mixer. Now again, I can bring this bar up. Now typically when you're producing music, it really helps to get it to -6 dB. And it's one of the first things I generally typically do when I'm creating new projects. I think it's 5.99 on here. It's not the most accurate thing, but for the purposes of this demo, I'm not going to do that. Now these are the tracks just in this form. So I can play them and straight away you'll see that you can turn the organ down because it's blooming awful. Turn the piano down and maybe you just want a bit more of the beat. If I had more time, I'd probably create a lot more instruments. I'd probably have more effects going on. I'd look at the mixer and work around that quite a bit. You are able to change the viewpoint of the mixer by clicking on XL. Gives you a lot more features, and small if you've got a ton of tracks. I mean, going back to what I was saying about the old Amiga computer that I used to produce music on, you know, you can create so many tracks now. It is absolutely phenomenal. So what we're going to do now is we're going to load a project to give you a bit more of an idea about what a typical project might do. So I'm going to try and find my project actually. It's been a while. There we go. So it's called Crumbling, okay? So this as an example, if I close that down, we haven't got every track taken. We've probably got about 12 tracks on here. I don't like to overcomplicate things, to be fair. I like to keep it quite simple. If you want to see seconds on this bar, you can click on it and it'll tell you it in seconds. So we've got lots going on here. So you can see the drum beats coming in now. We've got various samples. In fact, this is mainly samples. I've got vocals going on. I've got this, actually I recorded from my keyboard. You've got the bass there, very synthy. The beat. Then extra instruments coming in. And vocals. Foghorn has to be done. Is it foghorn or leghorn? I don't know. There's lots going on with that track, but I do like it. And again, produced with Cubasis, absolutely love it. Now, something that I haven't talked about yet is in instruments that you are able to actually have. If I go to a MIDI track, there we go. You are actually able to interface with other apps on your iPad, which is really cool. If you're familiar with VSTs in Cubase, it's very similar, but it's a more simplistic approach because it's apps on the iPad. Now, you do get some already included, such as Microsonic. You've got loads of different sounds on here. I'm not going to go through them now, but it gives you an idea. There's plenty to explore. Guitars, flutes, drums, the list goes on. So you've got a load of Microsonic sounds. You've also got classic drum machines on here, so I can load one up. There we go. But when I go to Inter App or Audio Units, all of the different apps that I've currently got on the iPad which interface with this are available. And it's literally just a case of me loading one up. So I'm just going to try Xeon because Xeon's quite a straightforward one to use. And it imports it straight into here for you. And some of them, what you can actually have is the application will actually load in the background and interface it in for you as well. So if I go to Interapp now, we've just gone back and having a look at Interapp. Let's have a look at FM Player. So I'm just double clicking on FM Player and that's brought that in. You've got factory presets on here that you can use. So utilizing other apps such as synthesizers and drum machines and sample editors, a lot of them are interfaced and compatible with Cubasis, which is really helpful because it just expands the functionality of what you want to use it for. I've just loaded Chompler just to have a look at an example of a audio unit. If I click this up arrow, you can see it's actually loaded the app within Cubasis. So this is a sampler app. And it's just a case of literally just recording it and it'll go straight into a new track for you. It's created a brand new track for you and you can click on that to go back to it whenever you want. If I go to Microlog and I'm just loading a sound, the bar here allows you to manipulate how large you want the keys to be or how small. Maybe you want grand piano style and you've got teeny little fingers. Or maybe you got fat fingers like me and you just want a couple of notes. So yeah, that's an example of how you can actually use that by using that bar. But I hope you agree it's just incredibly intuitive. You can move things around just by dragging and dropping them. You can drop them onto different tracks if you want to. So let's say I'm happy with my project, okay, and I want to mix it down. So I simply select it from the Media Projects Crumbling section, and I can then click on Mix Down. If I click Create Mix Down here, that gives me various options. I can save it as a WAV file, a FLAC, an MP3, a MIDI, mix down between locators or keep it within the range that you've got in the bar. You might want to include effects, you might not want to. You might want to create separate stems for tracks. You just click that one, it'll do it all for you. Makes it so much easier. You can normalize it if you want to. Give it a name. I normally like to say Crumbling is the project file, minus 6 dB, and maybe I'll do an instrumental version if I don't have the vocals in that one, or if I just leave it like that one. And then it'll literally just start rendering to that file for you. And there you have it. That's now saved on your iPad as a WAV file. But let's say you actually want to save the project. Maybe you want to import it into Cubase later. Food for thought, I have Cubase on my MacBook, and the integration between Cubasis to Cubase, for me, it's very buggy. It doesn't remember all of the sample edits that you do on Cubasis. So you might want to export it as stems and then import it into Cubase, but I believe that's something that they're working on at the moment, because I did reach out to the team. What I find the most simplistic way to actually back up my projects is to find the project that you're working on, and you can duplicate it if you want to back it up. But let's say you want to send it to maybe your iCloud or to Google Drive. I click on Share. You can email it if you want to, but I click on More, and when I click on More, it's going to reduce all of the file size into one zip file. It's going to gather every single sample, every single, edit that I've made to it. And then I can literally save it to, say, the drive. And then I can upload it from there, and it'll literally start uploading. So it is the most easiest thing in the world. Once I've saved that, I use Google Drive quite a lot, and you can see all of my project folders are actually here. So I can literally find one that I like and download it, and then I click on import and load it, and then everything's there. And that to me is so easy. There's nothing worse than having files on Cubase and then finding that your VSTs aren't connected, that kind of thing. You'll still have the same problem with apps if they're not on the iPad. But for me, what you can do is you can actually freeze tracks. Let's say that you've actually used this and it's connected to an app. And let's say that app isn't going to be available in the future. Well, what you can do is you can convert that MIDI by clicking on this freeze button here, and that'll turn it straight into a sample file. So you will never lose that. It still retains the MIDI functionality here for you, but that's currently muted. What I find quite useful is maybe you want to retrieve that. If you unfreeze it, it's going to get rid of the sample underneath. It's just removed it. So what I do is I freeze anything that is linked to an app, and then I actually duplicate it on here. What you could then do is maybe copy or move that file there and then unfreeze it, and it's kept both for you. So you got the old MIDI, which is frozen, linked to that app still, but it's muted and you only then hear the sample. So hopefully that's given you an insight into Cubasis. I absolutely love it. I only use the iPad now for music production via Cubasis. And I just think it's a powerful tool. It's so easy to use. It's very reliable. And the possibilities are pretty much endless with it. So for me, when I bought Cubase, a license on the MacBook Air, I honestly thought I was going to switch over, and I haven't. And I will continue to do so because I can take that iPad anywhere with me. And I just think it's an amazing piece of kit. Here it is right here, look. So this is what we've been working on today. So what I use is an iPad Pro. I use the Magic Mouse from Apple to actually navigate around, just in case you wanted to find out how I did that. But obviously the touch on the screen is probably the most intuitive. So there you have it. Hope this video has been useful. Please let me know what you think in the comments section. Love to hear from my audience. I love my subscribers so much. So thank you to each and every one of you. And I will catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye.